Record on cloud. Yes. So last time we had a look at overall project cost management knowledge area, and we were trying to understand control cost, right? So how do you control cost is basically in terms of how initial planning actually adds up to controlling cost, how initial understanding of what needs to be done, what type of resources we need to attach, what do you mean by something like, you know, the resource calendar, or uh, any specific understanding of what needs to be done, what needs to be the quality, what needs to be the, you know, suitable resources for some certain scenario is the basically start to understand what type of cost we are looking for. This is like selecting a car. Means if you want to buy a car, we will normally start with you know, bare minimum, bare bone car, like something like Dodge Neon, or, you know, Ford Escort, or something like, which really fits to the need from going point A to point B, bare minimum car. Then we can go to a bit of, you know, sedan type of segments, which are which basically starts with the luxury, like better shock absorber, you know, better sound concealment, and so on and so forth, better engines, better power, and the list goes on and on. Then you can, you know, stop at something like Hummer, Ferrari, helicopter, or something like that. This can be a, you know, overall list of choices available to us. Now, how to select which is more suitable to your need? This is what the overall, you know, cost budgeting, cost management is all about, right? And this is how we are seeing in terms of PMI. These we normally differentiate in input, tools and techniques, and output. These three, you know, categories, and then we'll understand what type of inputs do we need, what type of tools and techniques do we use, and how the outputs can, you know, come to us, and what we can understand from those output in terms of whatever we did in understanding how to control cost on day-to-day basis, right? And similar things we look at for a typical project development, product development, or solution development type of project. Our project is also life, or basically our life is have too many projects. We, you know, wake up, we start with something like making tea, making coffee type of project. Then we start, you know, we have to work on our breakfast, get the breakfast, cook the breakfast, clean the house, you know, take our kids to a school, college, and so on, so forth. So there are so many projects we do throughout the day. Now, how to control cost? We need to have an initial planning. We need to have an understanding of how do we plan proactively and get the best out of whatever we invested in that. And that's how this control cost does help us out. Okay. Now, from PMI perspectives, the inputs are various project management plans. Start with cost management plan, whatever you build in terms of, you know, initial thought process of building a cost management plan, like how much cost I'm looking at, what do I have, and what do I need, and those kind of scenarios. So we are trying to bridge a gap in between that and trying to understand how to build this cost. Cost baseline is basically understanding the, you know, maximum or minimum limits I should go to, rather than keep dreaming about things. Now we start align ourselves into practicality. What do I have? So much bank balance. What so much loan I can get for these things, and so on and so forth. So we build some baseline, we build some limits, and then we also try to understand performance measurement baseline, how the man, material, machine type of resources could help us out in terms of controlling cost better. And this is a kind of continuous activity. This falls in the monitoring and control process group. So we keep controlling our cost throughout any project life cycle. Be it something like a software solution, be it something like taking our son to college or school on daily basis. We are searching for, you know, better solution, easier solution, efficient solution, less economical solution, and so on and so forth. And this is how the idea of carpooling, this is how the idea of taking the shortest route, this is how the idea of saving time comes into play. So cost doesn't always means a monetary cost. This cost talks about the efficiencies. This cost talks about bringing quality to what you're doing and trying to understand what the best output we can get in terms of the solution. So there's an inherent, you know, understanding of quality, within building cost as well. And this is what we need to understand. Whenever you control cost, you don't control cost blindly, right? And we'll understand that step by step. In terms of project documents, we normally understand the lessons learned. So this is like a previous knowledge we acquire for similar executions. So we try to outperform that efficiency what we achieved earlier. We try to improve ourselves continuously, and this is what the human life is all about, or human evolution is all about. We try to make our life easy, we try to make our life more efficient, more qualitative day by day. And this is what the lesson learned register guides us. Of course, we study project funding requirements. Where are all the fundings coming from? Am I short of funding? Do I have the avenues open like loans, borrowing, and so on and so forth. So these type of things we try to understand how to generate these funding requirements, work performance data. If what all work we have done previously, try to understand how it relates to this task and how I'm going to get performed, or what type of efficiency I'm looking for this performance. And this is how I evolve myself. How much time will it take? So estimation is also inherent, subgroup of better or efficient cost management. And then we have organizational, work performance data. Yeah, we talked about work. So these are basically organizational process assets. What type of organizational environment I do have? Can I, get some money contribution from my better half? And so on and so forth. So can I get some money from my parents or friends or something like that? This is how we basically build ourselves in on basis of the environment we are in. And this is what we call organizational process assets. In a typical organizations or a typical IT matured organizations, we have something called project management office. We have something called financial consultant. We have something like experts. We have something like center of excellence, subject matter experts to help us out to build better cost, to execute things better. They might have certain experiences relevant to this task which at hand, and we try to gain their knowledge, and we try to make or inbuild some efficiency into our executions, right? Let's try to understand the tools and techniques. We have expert judgment, COE, SME, the CEO, CTO, PMO, and all these teams. They are there to help us out, and with their help we try to build some better cost controls, right? And then the data analysis we keep doing throughout our project life cycle. This includes earn value analysis. We had a quick look at earn value analysis last time, and what we understand, earn value is basically whatever you earn in terms of the results created. We do projects to create some unique results, right? So those results, what part of it have been created and its value. That's what we normally calculate in earn value analysis. The variance analysis. Am I doing better than yesterday? I should be. If not, then there's a challenge, and we might need to address those as well. So we keep studying variance analysis day in, day out. We keep revisiting our previous performances and try to understand if I'm doing okay, I'm doing bad. Am I in line with whatever I used to do? If I'm doing better than that, then I'm good. This is a typical human tendency to evolve ourselves. And that's what we are trying, right? And on top of that, we normally have a trend analysis. If I keep working like this, how soon I can complete this task? How much cost do I have to incur? And how I can manage my cost better day by day. And this is what the trend analysis is all about. Just extrapolate what you're doing right now and try to understand how the trends are looking on the ground for each and every task I'm doing currently. So normally each and every project manager, they use these things to make sure whatever they are doing in line with the efficiency, in line with the better cost controls, in line with the end result to be achieved with the maximum possible efficiency and quality. And then we have some reserve in case of some unforeseen circumstances or some risk which popped up, or which basically try to create obstacles within our executions. We try to use certain reserve, and these are all for unforeseen circumstances. There is a management to help us out, which what we call management reserve. There's a control reserve, which basically helps us out for each and every group to utilize some basic reserve which we have created in our planning. And there are some other reserve, like even risk reserves and so on and so forth. So we use those reserves whenever there's a need. And so we keep building better and better efficiency. We keep improving ourselves day by day. We keep building better cost control. That's how the overall philosophy of cost control comes into play. Again, I'll repeat, these are the most crucial element from the top management perspective. So the more you grow in your organization's vertical roles and responsibilities, you get better and better cost control. And this is how we have to look at it. So that's what, whatever we have in terms of cost management, cost efficiency, everything talks about the more mature, the more senior role you get, the more area of control you can exercise, more understanding of how to be more efficient on day-to-day basis and those kind of scenarios. So this way, we try to build some, complete performance indices overall organizations or department-wide, or basically try to control the cost overall for each and every organization. And that's what it talks about whenever we think about the cost controls, right? And then we have PMIs, where we try to report these cost control techniques we use to the top management so that they can guide us better. And this is done almost on day in, day out basis. And this is how we keep building or keep bringing help to us from a senior most team members of our organizations, and they keep guiding us out to build better cost control day by day. The outputs expected are work performance information, and this is talk about the overall efficiency tracking what we have in terms of production, how many number of items get produced per day, how much the humans or the machines are reacting in terms of newer additions, so that the overall environment should be more and more work performance friendly. The efficiency should get increased day by day, right? And that's the overall motto of building cost control. That's why work performance information normally spread across the organizations or given to the human resources. If it's a human, we are trying to gauge in terms of work performance, and we have various measures as far as each and every domain or each and every organization's policies and procedures. We have work performance information as per their thought process, their alignment, their maturity, the way they have achieved. Then we have cost forecast, and these are typically come from the variance or trend analysis. Basically, trend analysis. We try to extrapolate how we are incurring cost in terms of day by day basis, week by week basis, sprint by sprint basis, and so on and so forth. So that's how we can manage or we can foresee our cost forecast. Of course, we are flexible in nature as a human, and as in our management methodologies or development mindset, we adopt something called agility, flexibility. Over there, we do adopt changes on the go as well. So for all these changes, we have certain change requests to be adopted within your current executions. So the cost, actually whatever we plan might change up to a certain percentage. And this is how we also keep track of these change requests or any additional subtraction to the, or any changes to this cost plan, how minimal or how, bigger in terms of percentage they are. We still keep track of those things to make sure whatever we are doing in terms of accepting those flexibility changes have a certain cost aligned to it. So we try to build some more definite, more well-aligned policies and procedures to make sure we are flexible in nature, and we try to adopt the changes as shared by the client. And that's why we also keep track of client involvement in any change acceptance, so that he or she try to understand how the cost repercussions or how the schedule repercussions, scope repercussions going to affect the overall project cost management as well. Then the project management plan documents updates are, we update cost management plan of whatever we have accepted, whatever we have learned new in terms of building better efficiency. We do tune up our cost management plan to the best possible efficiencies. The cost baseline changes, if there are any, if I have accepted any new best practices or third-party tools wherever I'm giving the solution and so on. So this way I keep building better and better performance measurements and the cost baselines also. The other project document updates are assumption logs. If we have assumed anything, normally we keep updating our assumption log and so the risk registers and the basis of estimates. What type of efficiency, how we are calculating, is it a uniform thought process or are we changing the overall way we calculate our efficiency? Normally it's universally accepted that keep the similar basis of estimate or estimation techniques so that we can almost compare with the previous estimation and how we can build a trend analysis from that as well, so that we understand how our estimation is also performing in terms of practicability to the theoretically to the practicability of the world. And then we build some cost estimate, cost extrapolation, so that we can understand how the project is going to get effective, profitable for me throughout the project, product or solution life cycle. And then I, of course, keep updating the lessons learned register. I keep building my knowledge day by day. I keep improving myself day by day. And that's what all about in terms of how to control cost in day by day. To control cost, we use invariably a couple of tools or a couple of what we can say matrices tracking. These are some numbers we do track on day-to-day basis, right? As far as PMI, PMP or the understood way of improving our project life cycle day by day, product life cycle day by day, or solution life cycle or super services life cycle day by day, we keep tracking certain numbers almost on a daily basis. These are what we refer to as a matrices. There are a number of matrices we had a look at last time. Something called plan value. It's the authorized budget assigned to the scheduled work. So whenever you start building your project plan, there's an invariable cost attached to it. As we see, we start with scope, we understand the scope, we try to build some schedule or attach some schedule to the scope, and then add some resources to it. And this derives the cost. Now, if there are changes in scope, as we say, we work in a flexible agile environment, the cost is going to get changed. Even if there's a change in schedule, like if you're doing crashing, fasting, or there are quite a good amount of wait period in between your developments or in between your production, then you can really average out your cost or plan value effectively. And that's why all these small entities do matter or do affect my plan value day in, day out. Now the plan value is basically our authorized budget plan for the work to be accomplished. And we have seen in that S curve, we have seen in terms of reserved figure, how we keep allocating plan value to each and every task, each and every work item as well, right? And this is how basically we give a budgeted plan for the work to be accomplished for an activity or work breakdown structure, right? So each and every of our components on a project have a definite plan value attached to it. This is what we talk about, the budget allocated by phases or number of activities or group of activities at a given point. For a given time, plan value defines the physical work that should have been accomplished. So these are basically trying to understand how much I have planned in terms of estimation, cost and all. And we are going to track it throughout our project control cost mechanism, so that we'll understand, are we doing okay the way we planned? Are we doing bad? Or are we spending too much, whatever we have estimated earlier? Or we are okay in terms of we are effectively managing our cost, and so on and so forth. So these total plan values sometimes refer to the performance measurement baseline. It's also referred as a PMB. The total plan value for a project is also known as budget at completion. This is kind of extrapolation of the cost we are incurring with phase by phase if your project in a full swing, right? And then we build something called total performance measurement baselines or total budget at completion type of figures, which are basically extrapolation of whatever we are spending right now. So how much cost we're going to incur if we keep spending like this? This is a kind of trend analysis extrapolated. And that's how we get to understand the plan value. This gives top management a clear understanding of how much this project is going to cost me. And they can still understand how much profit is to be made, what type of risk I'm looking for, and so on and so forth. We had a look at these things whenever we were studying the budget, determine budget type of process flow. Any question on this planned value? Have you understand, or have you got an idea at least what planned value or budget at completion means? Anybody have any confusion?
No, we are good.
Okay. As of normal understanding, planned value are normally planned by the project financial consultants. As a manager, we normally get it reviewed by them and then attach BAC in our normal project plan. We'll see how we do it normally, and we'll try to understand how we extrapolate these things and try to control it almost on a day-to-day basis. Okay, let's take a step further. Actual cost. Now, planned value versus actual cost. If I'm started understanding, I'm taking a stock of today. Today is 22nd October. So I take a stock of my actual cost as of today, right? So what is actual cost? How much I spent in terms of man, material, machine as of today, and whatever I have achieved in terms of the work, right? So actual cost is a realized cost incurred for the work performance on an activity during a specific time period. So I'm looking for a specific time period, total cost incurred till date. For the work I have accomplished, right? I have accomplished something, right? And that's how my progress is being monitored, controlled. And that's why actual cost plays an important part in terms of this is kind of gives a base to the budget and completion and other matrices as well. The actual cost needs to be correspond to the definition of what was budgeted in the planned value. So when whatever I'm doing currently, I'll try to understand how much cost I have spent, and if I keep spending like this, what type of BAC I'm looking at the end of the project. And this is how I keep building my planned value but budgeted cost in control. And these normally deduced from the direct ask of the man, material, machine usage. So these are all direct cost. All costs include the indirect cost. Normally we keep differentiating between these costs. Normally as a project manager, I don't have a good understanding of finance. That's what industry also explains, but still to know these things give us a better idea of controlling cost for a given project. And that's how I keep counting actual cost and the planned cost, so that I know I'm in a control, or am I going in a different path from whatever I have chosen earlier. So I'm just trying to make sure if I'm doing it effectively, if not, and there are some COE, SME, or experts to help me out in building these costs better day by day. Now, earn value. This is the most crucial questions from many interviewers. Like, please explain me what you mean by EMV, earn value management. Let's try to understand. We had understood last time, and I believe we had a look at good video also. Let's try to revise that thing. The earn value is a measure of work performed expressed in terms of authorized budget for the work. Let's try to understand from a simple executions. Now, I'm making a tea. I've kept water to boil. I have put some tea powder in it, and it's still boiling. At that moment, when I try to understand earn value, what it will be? Let's try to understand. So earn value is basically measure of work performance expressed in terms of budget authorized for the work. Here, let's try to understand how much cost I have incurred when I keep my water boiling and add a tea powder to it. How much project I have completed? Let's say almost 50 to 70%. I'm just trying to make you understand how these are calculated on a day-to-day life basis. On a project basis, we have number of tasks as we planned in our Excel sheet, right? And we know where I stand as of today, how much task I have performed, so how much hours I have used for man, material, machine. In terms of my tea powder, it's basically that's the maximum it gets. Now I have to add just a pinch of if I want to add cardamom, if I want to add any tea masala, and then I'll add a couple of pints of milk, like 20 ml milk or 30 ml milk at the max, and then I'll have that tea ready for me within minutes. So the completion is at quite greater level. So the costs are also at a quite good level. So the rest of the raw material which is to be used at a quite lesser level. So I can think through as far as the cost goes quite effectively in earlier life cycles or in earlier sprints or in earlier work stages. The earn value is much less, right? And as we seen on the S curve, how that earn value look like throughout the project. And that's how we normally keep managing earn values throughout the project life cycle. The earn value being measured needs related to the PMB and the EV. Measured cannot be greater than the authorized PV budget. So if it's greater than the authorized PV budget, then we are utilize our cost at a burning level. So it's a dangerous thing. We are going in negative in terms of profitability, or we are trying to use some reserve in those scenarios, right? Could you understand me here? Any confusion?
No.
Okay. The earn value is often used to calculate the percentage complete of a project. Yes, in terms of cost, how much you have created as a result. That's my earn value, and it's normally calculated in the percent complete of a project. So when I say my project is 60% complete and the cost which I have planned was around 48%. So I'm doing really good in terms of earned value because my work results are bit ahead than whatever the cost I have incurred. So I have good amount of reserve as far as finance goes in terms of my cost planning or budgeted value, right? Because at the end there is normally a rework, or there's normally a kind of trying to create better product or trying to create a better services and deliver it to a client, and that also requires some extra cost or extra resource as we see, right? The rework and all those things. So for that I need to put some reserve. I need to understand how I have done it earlier and how I'm doing it right now, and this is how I keep improving step by step throughout my project, throughout my overall execution. I try to control cost and build some better earn value day by day. That's the overall motto of it. The progress measurement criteria should be established for each Wbs component to measure work in progress. This is done in terms of the hours usage from each and every resources I'm going to use throughout the project. Simple, like scope, schedule, resource, deduce the cost. And this cost is normally tracked on activity or work item level and can be extrapolated throughout the project, right? And that's where the project managers monitor earn value both incrementally to determine the current status and cumulatively to determine the long-term performance trend or long-term cost trends. And that's how the earn value is basically calculated almost at every stage of a project, if possible on hourly basis, if not at least daily basis. And so the PMIs, the project information management dashboard, calculates this earn value for each and every project and guides the top management if we are doing okay, are we in a danger zone, are we in a yellow, are we in a red, or something like that sort. And if we are in a red, then this top management can help us out. The PMOs of the world might lend some resource to us, might lend some experts, COE, SME, to help us out of getting out of yellow rather than going to the red. And this is how the PMIs, the project management dashboards, helps each and every project manager. This is how we build fail-safeness within our project management. And that's how now we have a better and better success rate day by day. And that's how we have that evolved project management and control at our place. If you are a PMP certified project manager, or if you know the PMP thought process, that's how you can control your project better day by day. And this is the basic criteria for it. Let's try to understand earn value analysis. We had a stop in between of this video for calculating these various matrices like CPI, SPI, and all those things. We have a look at it right now, but let's try to understand earn value analysis, how we do it on almost a daily basis. And yes, you do it on a daily basis. This is done through looking at the project plan, mostly Microsoft project plan or Jira project plan or any project plan, whatever you are trying to understand. And that's how we do it, because these evolved software solutions gives you all these matrices when you look at them. The earned value analysis comprises of performance measurements baselines to the actual schedule and cost performance. The earned value management integrates scope baseline with the cost baseline. So how much scope we have completed, how much cost we have incurred. And that's how I keep building better and better efficiencies within my costing. The schedule baseline basically make me understand, do I need to do some crashing? Do I need to do some fast tracking? If it's a requirement, how do I'm going to manage the cost? Because everybody wants their results earlier, the earlier the better, and those kind of scenario, right? But still there are some processes which takes a certain amount of period, with the restriction of might be nature, or with the restriction of the transportation and blah 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 things, the environmental factors mostly. So still we have a basically understood the discipline of schedule. That's what we call in a project management terminology. So we have certain limitation or certain discipline to be maintained in terms of how we apply schedule to the given scope. And that's how there are certain limitations of building some cost for each and every project. And this is the practicability of it. So EVM develops and monitors three key dimensions for each work package control account. These are scope, schedule, resources. So these three things basically reduce the cost. That's the basic motto of earned value analysis, which you should understand. And if interviewer asks what is earned value management, these are basically we trying to calculate our performance at a given instance or for a given time period with the results we've created and the cost we have incurred. That's the total earned value analysis we are talking about. Let's have a look at this small video where we'll understand what type of different matrices are normally tracked in a given scenario, specifically for software solution IT companies, right? Let me play this video for you.
Hello, welcome to my video on earned value. In this video, I'm going to show you how to work out the formulas for earned value so that you can be ready for your project management professional exam. I'm going to use an example of a construction project. And here I want you to imagine that you're the project manager for the construction of 20 miles of sidewalk. And according to your plan, the cost of construction will be $15,000 per mile, and it's going to take 8 weeks to complete.
Simple project. You are trying to construct a sidewalk of 20 miles. So there's a definite scope attached to it, right? And we are trying to attach a schedule to it for 8 weeks. So there'll be multiple resources working on that. And we normally try to build, WBS for this and try to understand how these costs are being tracked on each and every step. That's really a great example because I believe everybody have seen the sidewalk, the components of a sidewalk, and now we are attaching limits or actual practicability to the example. Let's try to understand.
So the whole duration is 8 weeks. The scope of the work is 20 miles, and the cost is going to be $15,000 per mile. Right? 2 weeks into the project, you've spent $55,000 and completed 4 miles of sidewalk, and you want to report performance and determine how much time and cost remain. All right, so the first thing we need to do is figure out how much this project should have cost, right? And that's called the budgeted at completion. The budgeted at completion is how much this project is budgeted for by the time it's completed, meaning the budget for the project. So since this was 20 miles, right? 20 miles times $15,000 per mile, and that's going to give you $300,000 as a total budget. Next thing we need to solve is the planned value. The planned value is also known as the budgeted cost of work scheduled. This is what you have scheduled, or this is what you think you should have completed by now. Now we are 2 weeks into this project. Therefore, 2 weeks out of 8 weeks project, you should have done a quarter of the work. All right. Now there's more than one way to do this, but I would just figure if in 8 weeks we have to do 20 miles, then in 4 weeks we would have to do, so I'm just going to put 20 here. This is 8 weeks, right? Then 10 miles should have been done in 4 weeks, and then 5 miles should have been done in 2 weeks, right? I'm just splitting it. So essentially, I should have done 5 miles in 2 weeks, all right? So let me just erase these. 5 miles in 2 weeks. Let me do the math. 5 miles is my planned value, and the cost of 5 miles, because it is $15,000 per mile, is going to come to $75,000. So what we're saying here is that in 2 weeks, I should have done 5 miles, which is worth $75,000. Now let's look at the reality, which is earned value. How much have we actually done? This is the budgeted cost of work actually performed, BCWP. We've done 4 miles of sidewalk, and the 4 miles that we've done are worth how much? They're worth $15,000 each, right? And therefore the 4 miles are worth $60,000. So we have done $60,000 worth of work, and that is considered the earned value. Now let's go back to solving this. Actual cost. As you recall, we've spent $55,000, so that's a given, right? That's the actual cost. Now we do the formulas, all right? Cost variance. How much are we varying from the original plan? To solve the cost variance, you solve it by doing this. It's earned value minus actual cost. Okay. The earned value is the value of the work, budgeted work that you've actually completed. In this instance, we've completed 60,000 worth of work, and our actual cost is 55, which is really good. And we end up with a positive $5,000 extra, right? So that's the extra. So our cost variance is actually positive. Right. Now, next thing that you want to solve is the cost performance index. The cost performance index is the same thing as the cost variance. All right. So here's the trick. This is something you want to remember. It's the same thing as the cost variance, but because variance is a difference between two things, and index is a ratio, instead of subtracting, we divide. So it's the same formula that you see here, okay? The same formula that you're seeing here, right? But instead of subtracting, what we're going to do is we're going to divide, all right? So I'm going to do earned value divided by actual cost. And that would be 60 divided by 55. And that will give me 1.09. And what that tells you is that for every dollar that you had budgeted on this project, you're actually getting $1.09 in value. And if you look at the way, if you look at the formula, it says that I got $60,000 worth of value by spending $55 of the money. And that means I got $1.09 in value for every dollar I had planned to spend. Or basically, I accomplished $1.09 of value of work with every dollar that I invested into this one project. So we're actually doing really well for money. All right. So this is a similarity that you want to remember between cost variance and cost performance index. All right. The cost variance is a difference between two, and so you subtract. The cost performance index is the ratio, so you divide. Right. That's the key difference here between the two. They have exactly the same items. They both have the earned value, and they both have the actual cost. All right. So now what you want to think, every time you hear variance, it's something you have to subtract. And every time you hear index, it means divide. They all start with earned value. These four formulas, so cost variance, cost performance index, schedule variance, schedule performance index, they all start with earned value. Okay, so this one also starts with earned value. The one that has to do with cost variance, and cost performance index, these here, they finish up with actual cost. Okay, so they have actual cost there. The ones that have to do with planning, which is schedule variance, they will have the plan value. So schedule variance and schedule performance index, they end up with plan value. Variance is minus, index is divide. All right, so for schedule variance, our earned value, what we actually did here is 60. What we had planned to have done is 75, if you recall from earlier. So we are behind 15,000. This is $15,000 worth of work, and that's the equivalent of that 1 mile that we're behind. Remember, in 2 weeks, we should have done 5 miles because the whole project is 8 weeks for 20 miles. 4 weeks would be 10 miles, 2 weeks would be 5 miles. But instead of doing 5 miles, we did 4 miles. So we're actually behind 1 mile. And that's the equivalent of the $15,000 that is shown here. All right, for the schedule performance index, it is earned value by plan value, which is this. And the earned value here is 60 divided by 75, and that's going to give you 0.8, essentially telling you that you're running at 80% speed. All right, and that makes sense because we've done 4 miles instead of 5 miles, and that's 80% of the speed. All right, let's roll this up a little bit. Let's solve the rest of the formula. We have estimate at completion. You gotta remember all the numbers that we've done so far, all right? Estimate at completion, this is a forecast, essentially. EAC is a forecast of how much you think this project is going to cost. Mind you, this project was budgeted at $300,000, right? Now, our cost performance index is 1.09. It's actually good. We are getting $1.09 worth of value for every dollar that we had estimated, all right, or that we had budgeted for this one project. And for you to solve the estimate at completion, what you have to do is take the original budget, $300,000, we divide it by the current CPI, which is 1.09, and we get around $275,000. So you can do this on a calculator. You get roughly $275,000. Now, this is the forecast that you'll give management. So you say instead of $300,000, we are now looking to spend only $275,000.
So the profitability having increased, right? Which is really best part of it. And this is how the PMIS extrapolate the trend. PMIS extrapolates the overall day-to-day work to a level where we understand how we are doing on almost day-to-day hourly basis. And that's how that PMIS pulls out data of these matrices from your project plan.
So imagine if your CPI was 2, what would happen? If you write 2 here, if that's your CPI, then your estimate at completion, right, would be 300 divided by 2, and it'll give you 150,000. And that would make sense if for the 4 miles you spent, instead of spending 60,000, you spent 30,000. That means you're spending half the money and you're getting the job done. So basically, a $300,000 job would finish at $150,000. All right. So this is why you put the CPI in the bottom. This is why it needs to be in the bottom. Now, if all we're going to spend is $275,000, then how much more money do we need for this one project? You do the math, the estimate to complete, which is this one here, says that we are now forecasting $275,000. We have spent $55,000 already, so we're looking to spend another $220,000. That's the remaining money we need to finish the project. And based on this one forecast of $275,000, our variance at completion of the project is going to be 300,000, the original budget, minus the 275,000 that we're now forecasting. And that's going to give us roughly a $25,000 variance. And that's how much more money will be left at the end.
Positive variance means positive profit, right? Positive profit for organization. So a project in full green. That's what it talks about.
Hope it's making sense up to this point. There's one more thing we need to complete here, which is the to complete performance index. All right, to complete performance index. This is a bit complicated, and what the to complete performance index talks about is what kind of cost performance index we need for the remainder of the project for us to be able to meet a certain number. So you see here, I have two examples. The first one here would be the TCPI based on the budget at completion. The original budget at completion is 300,000. All right. If there's no intention to save money, and if management just wants me to finish the project at $300,000, that's going to leave me with how much money? So, and that's how much more work do I have left? Remember, TCPI is trying to figure out what should be your CPI for the remainder of the project. So it's a to complete performance index, all right? To complete, essentially it's to complete cost performance index. And to solve cost performance index, you actually have to solve earned value by actual cost. And since we're trying to solve the to complete, it means we need to figure out the to complete earned value. The original budget or the original amount of work is 300,000, and the earned value so far is 60. That's how much we've completed the 4 miles. And so the remaining earned value in this instance is 240,000. Now we have to look at the actual cost that we can spend for the rest of the project. If management's willing to let us spend the whole 300,000 that they had budgeted, then and we've already spent 55, then the remaining money is 245,000, right? And so when you divide these, you'll get something like 0.99 or something like that, all right? That means you can underperform going forward because, you know, on your CPI, which is earned value by actual cost. Why? Because management is okay for you to spend the 300,000. And that's why we were saying this was TCPI based on the BAC.
So the lesser the TCPI, the better profitability. And that's how we keep calculating it. So these index, they normally measure if it's less than 1, fine. It's better than 1, you're spending more than whatever you're creating, whatever you are earning in terms of earned value. And this is how these indexes are measured.
The budget at completion. Now there's another scenario where the TCPI would be based on, let's say, the estimate at completion. Remember, we had estimated to management that we would finish the project for 275,000, right? In this instance, if all the money we're going to spend is 275,000, then that number changes in the bottom, and it says the actual cost for all the work going forward can only be the estimate, which is 275 minus the 55 we already spent. But the actual work, which is the earned value, does not change, right? We still have 300,000 worth of work. We've done 60 out of it. We still have 240 left. But the money remaining here, because they only want us to spend the estimated amount, which is 275 minus 55 is going to give me, instead of 245, will give me 220, right? And so when you divide 240 by 220, you get 1.09. Funny enough that it came to 1.09. Why is it 1.09?
This is we earn, and that's what we're going to spend. So earning more than 1 is positive, right? So I'm spending $1 and earning $1.09.
Well, because the estimate at completion was actually based on the CPI of 1.09. So essentially, if you want to finish the project at the estimated amount of 275, then continue with the current CPI of 1.09. Does that make sense? That brings us to the very end of earned value. Hope this was of value to you. Hopefully you earned some value out of this. If you have any questions, put the question.
And I'll share the link with you so that you can, even message him or, get in touch with him if that's what you need. So basic matrices we track as far as, typical project execution goes. We have these CPIs, SPIs, CV, SV, EAC, UTC, BAC, EAC, EC, TCPI, and EVM, earn value management, is basically encompasses all these matrices. Okay, I hope again this is done with the help of project financial consultant. As a project manager, you're not expected to work this on your first project. If you had experience in that, then you can do it very easily. These are just a number crunching game, and we do these number crunching just to make sure whatever we are doing in terms of project is on track and we are doing it effectively. That's what it means at the end of the day. So philosophically, we are checking or we are taking a stock of our project on daily basis to make sure we are in line with the target, with the result, with the objective we are. And that's what all it means at the end of the day, right? Let's take a step further. We have understood the overall S curve, right? This is just to repeat whatever, we've talked in, this video of how we manage this cost or how do we extrapolate, right? The budget at completion, the actual cost, and so on and so forth. So these are normally three graphs we plot on almost daily basis, and these graphs can be easily deduced from a matured software like Microsoft Project Management or like Jira or like any other software which you will use whenever you join any company as a project manager. And that's what we keep doing it. These graphs are given by the software to you. So you don't keep calculating the numbers on day basis. You just share the snapshot of this picture to the management, or the dashboard has this S graph for them, because top management, they understand this S curve. Is it sharp S, flat S, and so on and so forth. So they discuss these things whenever if you join any board meeting, you'll understand how the cost curve is looking at for this project and all those things. They normally deduce in these type of curves analysis on these top management meeting. Now let's try to start understanding how to build or use such software, right? Let me start with a video of learning Microsoft project. It's a short video of 12 to 13 minutes or so, and we'll try to understand how we're going to use Microsoft project to build out our project plan. That's the first step to understanding such tool. Okay, and we'll spend rest of our class today to build a sample project. It's also a kind of construction project what we're trying to build, but we'll try to understand how we are going to build our project plan to make sure we are tracking all these scenarios step by step to make or to help top management to decide, are we doing okay, are we doing good, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's try to understand from this good video. I'll share these video links with you, so don't worry, and you'll have all the supporting links and the comments also if you want to have a look at these videos. These are one of the most best video tutored around. So rather than me reinventing the wheel, we are just trying to play this and learn from these masters. Let's try to understand.
Microsoft Project Professional. Hello there, and welcome to this video. Let's discover all the tips and features you need to learn to start using Microsoft Project Professional 2016 quickly and easily. Leave us feedback. Okay,
we might need to use Microsoft Project any version about 2013. This is 2016, but you can easily live with 2013. I'll use 2013, whatever I have on my system. Okay, so anything about 2013 will be okay for us. They are more or less similar, and we'll learn from these guys. Now, as we've seen, there was a task name when we created our Excel sheet, right? This overall, plot looks similar. We try to replicate this thing in Excel, right? So here we are trying to use actual Microsoft Project software to create a temporary, project and understand how everything fits into the whole templatization thing. Okay, let's try to understand and then we'll discuss.
Back in the video description to improve our following guides for Microsoft Office. Microsoft Project is used to organize tasks, duties, appointments, and also resources in the best and easiest way in both private and business environments. In this video, we will cover the very basic features to start. When you open Project, a welcome screen appears showing ready templates with different topics you can start from. Furthermore, on the left, you can directly open projects made in the past. In order to understand how to use Microsoft Project, let's start from a blank document by clicking on Blank Project.
Normally, when you start working, they'll give you a couple of templates to choose from, and they'll also tell you which template is suitable for this project. This is how it happens in a normal work environment wherever you join. So you'll get a Microsoft project template or a Jira template for that matters to start your project on. Okay, and that's how we start. But here we are trying to learn it from the basic elements, basic scratch. Aren't we supposed to modify the days and dates before starting the actual dates and tasks? I couldn't understand your question, ma'am. Could you please repeat?
Yeah, actually, like I learned MS Project in my school, and they used to teach us like before entering the task and the due dates and the stuff. We used to modify, like if I don't want Saturdays and Sundays to be work on, I'll just add like exceptional like Saturdays and Sundays.
That's we're going to do. Yes, that we're going to learn. This is what we call applying the calendars. You'll learn in this video also.
So aren't we supposed to do that first and then enter the task and the dates?
You don't have to do it. Basically, the templates, what you're going to do is already done that. We get templates, right? Right now, we are trying to learn from scratch because we'll understand such tactics. There are 4 or 5 such tactics which we apply before starting our project. Yes, if you're working with a startup, then you might want to create your own project plan with the calendars and all, and that's what we're going to learn in this video. Just hold on for a couple of minutes. You'll get an idea. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
At this point, the general workspace opens. This is divided in 2 main sides. On the left, you have a quick table that will contain the full list of the tasks to be done. And on the right, you have the Gantt chart, which is used to check the job spread over the timeline above, indicating 1 day per column. First, you have to define the task to be completed on the left. Under task name, give a name to your task and define when it starts under start and when it should finish under finish. Once created, the new task appears on the Gantt chart as a colored rectangle. The length depicts the entire duration of the task. You can customize its appearance by double-clicking on it. Also, use the bar in the bottom right corner to modify the zoom on the Gantt chart. In case you make a mistake and you want to remove the task from the list, just right-click on it and go to Delete Task. You can extend or shorten the time duration of the task directly on the Gantt chart as well by clicking and dragging from its edges, or move the time period by clicking and dragging it. On the left, under Duration, you can see the total number of working days, D, required between the start and the finish date. By default, the working days are counted from Monday to Friday, with no holidays in between. You can set up the working days and the holidays by going to the Project tab on top, and then to change working time. Below, under Exceptions, add all holidays and non-working days you need. Apply these changes by pressing the OK button. Inside the Gantt chart, all non-working days and holidays are indicated by dark gray columns. Also, if you right-click on the taskbar and go to Split Task, you can split a task in multiple parts. This will have an impact on the start and the finish dates, but not on the duration time. The bars will become independent, changing lengths according to the working days under duration. If you hover on the far left side of the bar, You will be able to adjust the percentage of completion of the task indicated by a thin dark line on the bar itself. Notice that this follows the working days only. Besides the tasks list and the Gantt chart, you also have a timeline at the very top. This does not list all the tasks you have, but just the ones you prefer to show off. To add tasks to the timeline, just right-click on the task and go to Add to Timeline. To remove it, right-click on it from the timeline and go to Remove from Timeline. You can check all the information related to one task by double-clicking on it. In the Task Information panel, you can adjust percentage, priority, duration, and dates under General. You can add custom comments under Notes, and you can also specify the final deadline for each task under Advanced. This should be the date you must take into account, and this is indicated as a down green arrow on the Gantt chart. If you edit your task and you go over the deadline, Project will warn you under the information column on the left. In case you have tasks that are dependent, for example, when one can't start if another one is not finished yet, you can use the links. To create a link, you have to first select all the tasks that are dependent. Just hold Control down and select all the tasks in the correct order. Then just click on the link the selected tasks. In the Gantt chart, all links are indicated through arrows, indicating the type of dependence. By default, you create Finish to Start links, which means that the following task must not start until the preceding one or predecessor is finished. These links are quite useful, since Project will automatically organize your tasks in order to respect this dependence. On the left, the predecessors column indicates the row number the task is dependent on. If it is 3, that task is dependent on the third row task in the list. If you go to Predecessors on the Task Information panel, you can check all the links related to the task. Under Type, you can also change the kind of link. Choose Start to Start to make it start when the predecessor starts. Choose Finish to Finish to make it finish when its predecessor finishes. Or choose Start to Finish to make the task finish when the predecessor starts.
This is basically the precedence diagramming method which we will learn, right? And this is how we normally build the sequentiality in our project, one task after another, and so on and so forth. And my project software itself can plan these tasks for you. So you have to just align the predecessor and the next task or dependent task, and so on and so forth. So if you think it correctly, the project software can help you to do it automatically. That's the fun of it. So whenever you get a template, and if you have your WBS, you just copy paste here and try to give a predecessor and then attach a schedule to it. The template already has the holidays and everything marked as a schedule, because holidays normally come from the HR, right? So the PMO of the world, they have certain, resources called templatizations within at their disposal. So they build this template for each and every project manager. They have the templates like Microsoft Project, Jira, and they'll release it to you whenever you join that organizations and then guide you. So all these holidays, we don't have to worry as a project manager, why these are the gaps, why these are the grays and all. So these are basically already pre-planned and automatically updated in your project plan previously. So we don't have to bang our head on holidays. We don't have to bang our days on something like, yearly leaves or regional holidays and so on and so forth. These come to you handy from the HR as a part of the template.
Always check the Gantt chart for a quick representation. Consider that the start and finish dates of the tasks may change depending on the link chosen. You can still move and edit tasks as you like, but do respect the time dependence given from the links in order not to get any errors. In case you make any bad or conflicting entries, taskbars may have dashed contours. Inside Project, you have two kinds of tasks. So far, we have seen the manually scheduled tasks indicated by a pin symbol under the task mode column. You can also choose an auto-scheduled task indicated by a blue rectangular symbol. Separate from the other tasks, the auto-scheduled tasks may be fully edited and organized by project according to the several fixed constraints, such as workload, deadlines, and holidays. Indeed, the way to edit them is identical to the manually scheduled tasks. In the Task Information panel of the auto-scheduled task under Advanced, you can set the same option as seen, plus other new details, such as constraint type, date, and task type that are specific for the auto-scheduled tasks. In case you have tasks that are not yet defined, you can simply add them in your task list and leave them off by going to Inactivate above. In this way, these won't interfere at all with the management of the other tasks. Besides tasks, you can also add and use summaries and milestones. You can find these under the Task tab in the Insert section. The summary is a collection of several tasks grouped together. Create a new summary, rename it, and set it manually or auto under task mode. With the summary open, add all the tasks that it must contain, or simply select existing ones from the far left, right-click and use Cut, and then paste to add these inside the summary. Close the summary to add new tasks outside of it. In the Gantt chart, the summary is a simple container, long enough to contain the earliest start and the latest finish date of all its tasks. Just in case the summary is defined as manually scheduled, you are able to modify its duration directly. Just include all the relevant tasks in the time, or it will show errors indicated by a red-colored bar. The milestones are used to fix a goal. Inside the Gantt chart, this is a single point with a label indicating its day and month. To save your project document, just go to File and then to Save As. Choose Browse to save inside your computer. Project documents are saved with a .mpp file format. You can also include multiple projects inside one, especially if you want to take care of multiple projects at the same time. If you go to the Project tab and then to Subproject, you can browse for your project file to import into the current one. This will show up as an auto-scheduled summary. This is a live link. If the imported projects are edited, you will see all the changes that are affected. Project Professional is also very useful to organize tasks inside a business team, composed by resources. These are people that are going to perform the different tasks listed inside the plan. In the bottom right-hand corner, click on Team Planner. This workspace lets you add the resources and assign the respective tasks. On top, under the Resource tab, click on Add Resources to add people. You can import from your own address book or add manually by using Work Resource. Then, double-click on the new row to define the resource name, email, group, telephone number, their availability under Resource Availability, and other options. If you go to Change Working Time, you can add non-working days and holidays to the specific resource. Click OK to apply all. Additionally, under Unassigned Tasks, you have all the tasks that must still be assigned to your team. You may drag and drop a task to the current resource row, matching the current time placement by observing the timeline above. In case you have a task split in several parts, you can assign it by moving the last part, and even assign different parts to different resources. When you come back to the Gantt chart workspace, you will see the resource names assigned to each task. While assigning tasks, Project highlights bad entries through a thin red contour. For example, when a task starts on a non-working time, or when you assign too many tasks to a single resource, making it over-allocated. In case a resource is over-allocated, you have to distribute the daily working hours in the correct way. If you go to the Task Usage workspace, you can check day by day the total working hours per resource for each single task.
This is the most crucial element, because we keep shifting our resources across project, right? So we might end up in extensively used resource, and these are like shown by these red entities. So you need to manage their work hour, or you need to release, or use some other resources for these tasks. And this is the most fine tune we do on almost day-to-day basis. Whenever you start working at an organization, you'll come across these things. Even resource names are associated with the cost. So if you use costly resource like senior resource, too often your project cost gets bumped up. And so the earn value and actual cost may start applying at that levels. And this is how we manage our resource. So basically we play into these, 3-4 entities. We start with the scope, schedule, and resource, which reduce the cost, right? That's what we've seen. And this is how it extrapolated, or this is how it basically measured and keep track of in Microsoft project. It gives you an early warning of extensive reuse, or too heavily loaded resource, and so on and so forth. So if you're keep your eyes open, the evolved software like Jira, Microsoft Project, they help you out to build your project plan better day by day and have least possible exceptions. These are all very matured software, believe me, and that's why there are likings by many managers in terms of Microsoft Project or Jira. Believe me, they like it for a reason, because quite a few things which go in the background are not really shared with you. But as we know, the Microsoft, we tried to build this project plan in Excel, so we can understand in depth how it's going, how's it helping us out, right? And so on and so forth. So that's why we can understand how it turns rates and all those things.
Listed. By default, each resource can work a maximum 8 hours per working day in total.
In PMI, we normally try to work at 6 hours a day. And in actuality, we might plan for 8 hours depending upon your organization policies and procedures. But typically, as far as PMI go, we load a resource for 6 hours a day. Okay, that's a standardized way.
If you assign more than this amount, the resource will be overallocated, as the red icon on the far left suggests. In this case, you have to spread the working hours through different resources or tasks in order to reach the maximum 8 hours. You can change the hours by selecting the cell and typing inside. For complex projects, the auto-scheduled tasks are managed automatically, depending on the constraints inserted. You can also assign a single task to multiple resources inside the task usage workspace. If you right-click on a task and go to Assign Resources, you can add other resources to work on a single task. Just select the resource to add and then go to Assign. This will make it easier to distribute the working hours on each task. Inside Project, you have the possibility to make quick reports on your project plan. If you go to the Report tab, you can create a new sheet through the New Report button. These reports are used to see and quantify the distribution of work to be done, the load of each single resource, and additional information through descriptions, charts, and tables that you can add and edit through all the design tools on top. All these reports are saved inside the Report workspace in the bottom right corner and listed under the Recent button on top. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to us for sidesource, and you can create a new information sheet resource to add.
Okay, here you can see the cost column on the right hand side. Whenever you add a resource, these are also given by the organizations. Whenever a resource manager gives you a resource, they normally give you this unit cost. These are labeled and appropriated at an organizational level. So if Ravindra is going to work on your project, they'll give you a cost of $8 per hour. These are aggregated costs for a resource. And this actually builds up the cost baselines for your project. This is how we keep track of our cost and basically build all those matrices which are required for earned value management and the cost monitoring of it. And this is how we keep doing it. Okay. So this is all about Microsoft project. We have understood, or we try to learn quite a few things within these Microsoft project. I'll share this video with you. You can do a bit of hands-on if you can get a trial version. It's available free of cost at Microsoft site. Please download it from Microsoft site only. You can get any older version like 2013 and all those things, which is hardly around 450 MB or so. So you don't have to go to 2016 or 2019 or Office 360 and all those things. You can choose the older version, which is a smaller and gives you a more, detailed view rather than the newer version, which hides quite a great number of things. So I'll suggest go to 2013 or 2016. 2013 is around 450. 2016 is around, I think 600, 650 MB or something like that sort. So it can be get downloaded within a few minutes, and you can start, playing around, and you'll get to understand how this Microsoft project can be helpful for planning our project in advance. And I'll share the links of these videos with you in a few minutes. We normally have a kind of understanding of how we should plan it out, right? For that, we normally choose or we normally import the WBS in a Microsoft project. WBS, which we have created when we are trying to work as an analyst, right? At that moment, we created a work breakdown structure, or we try to break down our work into a level where the actual, third entity or third level of work is almost on an hourly basis planning for a given resource, right? And that way we can import that WBS in our Microsoft project. Let me share a video for that as well. WBS do I have over here? Not schedule management. Management. Give me a minute, please. Where's that? Oh, come on. Yes. This is again a small video where we'll try to understand how to use or import the WBS directly into the MS Office. So you don't have to really work your heart out or use your time in unnecessarily creating the task whatever you understood earlier and those kind of scenario, right? So we are just importing those tasks here. Let's see how we do it.
In this section, we're going to start to look at outline numbering and hello again. Hello again, and welcome back to our course on Project 2016 Advanced. In this section, we're going to start to look at outline numbering and Wps codes. You may not have come across these before, so I'm going to start by explaining outline numbering. For this section and the next one, I'm going to use this house build project. There's not a lot of detail in it at the moment, but there's enough for our purposes in terms of outline numbering.
This guy is using to create a house, to build a house of its own, right? And he's going to plan this project task for that. Normally, when we say I get a template from my office, these templates include this task numbering, task referencing, and all those things. Now, when I copy my WBS, which will be just the task names with the hierarchy, right? A group task, subtask, and subtask, 3 level of those things which gets included here. And that's how I normally import the WBS from an Excel sheet or from a text file into my Microsoft project, which normally also comes with the numbers. If not, then template assigns the number for it, because every organizations have their policies and procedures to apply certain numbering uniformity to each and every project task. And that's how they give you those task number as well.
Now, something like building a house is a pretty structured kind of project and will very often have a very similar structure to other house build projects. Now, behind the scenes, Project 2016 maintains a set of outline numbers for you. What I want to do first of all is to show you the outline numbers for this particular project. So I'm going to insert here to the left of the start column in the table the outline number column. So there it is, outline number. And the outline numbers that are assigned to the tasks.
Could you recall when I told you when you create WBS, you should number it out? And these are the numbers normally imported from WBS. Now these gets updated as per the project plan template, but you can still use this outline numbering to have a better understanding of which group the subtask falls to, and so on and so forth. So this is also an important from a perspective as a business analyst move to a project manager, or this is from a perspective of reviewing a project plan as a business analyst in a capacity of a reviewer or advisory role. And that's how we normally keep track of these sequential numbers to understand where the sequential task is falling in, and so on and so forth.
Follow the structure of the tasks themselves. So for instance, here we have summary tasks: site, base, lockup, and their outline numbers are 1, 2, 3. And within each of those summary tasks, the next level of task has a dot and then the second part of the outline number. So clear site is 1.1, set out is 1.2, and so on. If I introduce subtasks within clear site, for example, so let me put a task in there. Then that task gets an outline number of 1.1.1, and so on. Now, the good news about all this is that Project 2016 does all the work on maintaining those numbers for you. So, what's the point of these outline numbers? Well, they're used to be able to uniquely identify a task within a schedule. And the kind of purpose you may put that to is, for example, if you wanted to relate materials to a particular task. So if you were, say, ordering some steel to use for the structural steel frame here, task ID 21, which has an outline number of 4.3. When you ordered the steel, in order to make sure that people knew which particular project and task the steel was for, then you might provide the name of the project and the outline number of the specific task that steel was to be used for. So it's a way not only of identifying tasks within a project, but also to adding some structure to that identification. Now, on the face of it, that sounds like quite a good idea, but in practice, the use of these outline numbers is a little bit fraught with problems. If you have a very, very fixed structure in your projects, and possibly you're reusing the same structure over and over again, and there is rarely, if ever, a need to vary that structure, then this approach can work. But if in fact what you need is to have something that can deal with variations, with the addition of new tasks, then it doesn't. Let me quickly show you the sort of problem you get with this approach. When I started here, site had outline number 1, clear site had outline number 1.1, set out had outline number 1.2. They still have those outline numbers. When I introduced trim, it was a subtask of clear site, became 1.1.1. Supposing that trim had to go in, but it wasn't a subtask of clear site, it was a subtask of site. So in other words, it wasn't indented to that third level. Let me outdent it again. And what happens is that the outline number for set out has changed. It started out with an outline number of 1.2. It now has an outline number of 1.3. So you can see that as you change the structure, particularly if you insert or delete tasks, then outline numbers potentially can change. If I inserted a new summary task between base, which has outline number 2, and lockup, which has outline number 3. That summary task would get outline number 3, and everything from lockup onwards would have its outline number changed. So lockup will become 4, and so on. So although outline numbers work, and as I say, Project 2016 looks after them for you, they are very prone to change if you either introduce tasks into a project, remove tasks from a project, or indeed if you just move the tasks around. Now, as we're going to see later on, there is a way of getting around this problem by using outline codes. But before we look at that, I'd like to look at another feature that is in effect built into Project 2016. That is the use of WBS codes. WBS stands for Work Breakdown Structure. Now, the default set of WBS codes, like the outline numbers, are maintained by Project 2016. So let me just make a little space here, insert another column. The column I'm going to insert is WBS. And as you can see, the WBS codes are the same as the outline numbers by default. One of the major differences, though, is that you can customize the WBS codes. Now, in order to explain, at least in part, why you might want to customize the WBS codes, let me explain a little about where WBS codes came from. WBS codes originated in government work. In fact, I believe they originated in the US military, possibly specifically the US Navy. And the idea was not only to be able to identify the task activities in a project using a coding system that was understood by everybody involved, but also to do things like relate WBS codes in one project to WBS codes in another project. And what generally happened back then was that when you're dealing with some kind of government project, military project, and this system soon spread around the world, you would be given WBS codes to use, and you would need to set up in your project schedule WBS codes so that your project conform not only to government requirements, but often to international standards in terms of identifying the elements within a project. Now, WBS codes are still used today. They are still very commonly used in government, public sector type programs and projects. And in fact, I've used them relatively recently on some of the government projects that I've worked on. But one of the key aspects of WBS codes is that they don't often look as simple as this. The coding system is normally a lot more complex and a lot more specific to the type of project or situation that you're working in. So if you were given a set of WBS codes to use in a project, you would need to know how to customize these standard WBS codes, and that's what I'm going to show you now. The example I'm going to use is a fictitious example. These aren't any real WBS codes from anywhere, but once you've seen how to do this in a relatively straightforward case, you should be able to do it more generally. So let's see how to set up some custom WBS codes. Go to the project tab, and then within the properties group, WBS, and define code. That brings up the WBS code definition dialog. Now, first of all, we choose a project code prefix. Bear in mind, of course, what I said just now, you'll normally be given all of this, but let's put our own values in here. Our project code prefix will be HB01, perhaps standing for House Build 01. We might use the same coding system when building a whole set of houses. And then we decide how many levels of code we need. Now, I'm going to have 3 levels of code. The first level is going to be a numbering level. So, click in sequence here, click on drop down, and I'm going to use ordered numbers. The length of the numbers, well, I'm going to say the numbers are 3 digits long. Then I'm going to have a separator of a slash character. We'll see what all this means in just a moment. The next one I'm going to use is going to be uppercase letters, ordered, just maybe 1 character there. And then for a separator there, I'm going to use full stop and dot. And then for the third level, I'm going to go back to ordered numbers again. I'm going to say a length of 2 digits and the separator there. Dot. Now I then have 2 checkboxes towards the bottom of the dialog. Generate WBS codes for new tasks. So that means when I insert new tasks into my schedule, does Project 2016 generate the code for me? I'm going to say yes. If I uncheck that box, I would have to put my own codes in there. And then the second checkbox, verify uniqueness of new WBS codes. Do I want Project 2016 to make sure that when I put a WBS code in, it's unique, it's not already been used? I'm going to say OK. Now, those last two choices are actually very important, and particularly if you think about the first one. Do you want Project to generate WBS codes for you, or are you going to enter your own? If you've been given all of these WBS codes, and they may not follow a very specific sequence, then it's important that you uncheck that, because you're going to need to put your own WBS codes in. But as you can see, I've got both of those boxes checked. Click on OK, watch what happens. Now, all of the tasks in my project have now been given WBS codes. Let me bring up that dialog again. Just look at those 3 levels that I set up. And let's look at this task here, trim. First of all, HB01, project code prefix. Note, I didn't put any separator after HB01. It runs straight into the code itself. The code itself is 3 numbers in sequence, so 001 is the first. The separator is a slash. Then it's a single uppercase letter, in this case A, then a full stop, and then an ordered number 01. So that's 2 numeric digits, so numbers length 2. Now, although I specified a separator at the 3rd level, because there is no 4th level component for this particular WBS code, because it's only going down to the 3rd level, then I'm not getting that separator at the end. Project 2016 knows whether it needs to put a separator in or not.
I know you might find this too cryptic right now, but it's really a need. Means, whenever you get your project plan, you'll have these, difficult number of WBS code assigned to each and every task. And these are really carry an importance within the organizations, because each and every project is unique, each and every task is unique, and that's how we calculate those matrices on basis of each and every task. That's why we have these all numbering system to be understood, and every organizations, wherever you join, they have their own way of having these number defined. So it's important to understand how they come up with these things and how you can change it accordingly if you feel there's a need to understand it or a need to change it, frankly speaking, so that you can understand this task hierarchy much better, right? And that's why I kept this as a part of this training capsule.
The next task in the plan, of course, project prefix the same, HB01. The first outline level is the same. So I get 001 again, slash again, but the second level is different. So the letter is B. There is no 3rd level for this particular task. So its WBS code is empty. So it finishes with the B. If you look at this lookup task here, notice how the numbering goes there. HB001, 003, slash A, slash B, slash D, and so on. So you can see how that numbering system works. If I wanted to separate it between the project code and the specific task code, all I'd need to do would be to put it in here. Perhaps I'll put a hyphen in there, for example. Click on OK, and all my codes have now got hyphens. So that's an example of how to set up WBS codes. And in the sequence column there, in the drop down, we've used a couple of the options, numbers ordered and uppercase letters ordered. You can also specify lowercase letters ordered or characters unordered if you want things to be in a more sort of random or manually determined sequence. And then with whichever option you choose in the sequence column, you can say how many of that particular type of thing you have. So in the case of our first level, numbers ordered, we said the length of the numbers is 3. So for example, you have 001, 002, 003, and so on. In the case of uppercase letters or indeed lowercase letters, if you specify a length of 1, as we did here, you'll only be able to go up to, in the case of uppercase letters, uppercase Z. So if you need more than that, you may need to go for 2 or more uppercase letters. So that's how you set up your WBS codes. And in the next section, we're going to start by looking at how well WBS codes work in terms of giving you a consistent and reliable way of identifying the tasks in a project. But that's the next section. I'll see you then.
Hi, I'm Mark.
So, this is how we basically have those WBS imported in our Microsoft project, and we utilize it, come on. Okay, we utilize those, thing effectively for building our task or importing those task names from a WBS directly to the Microsoft project, right? Normally at this point, we do some sort of a workshops. Means you need to create a project plan for either of these: single family home, commercial building, or something like choose between these two, or get your own WBS, whatever you created earlier, and try to create a project plan out of it. It needs not be more than 10 or tasks at a given point, and we'll try to understand how these tasks are being created. Try to give a WBS number to it so that you will understand how this task differs, which is dependent on which, and so on and so forth. So this is a kind of homework. If you're willing to do, I'll be happy to help you out. Come on, I'm getting a warning. I don't know what. Okay, so no, this is basically easy to make a planning and as far as any project goes, and that's how we basically get our project plan started for each and every project managers to understand how the planning happens in actual world. Jira planning is almost similar, only the buttons are at a different Jira is a cloud-based project manager management tool. We'll have a look at Jira in our next segment. But as of now, you can download a project Microsoft project plan, Microsoft project as in software. As we discussed, try to play around it, so you'll get an idea how it works. And with the interview, you can keep your project plan screen or a printout of a project plan. We'll have a look at it, how you get a printout of a project plan and all to in front of you, so that you can explain your projects easily to the interviewer, and that gives a confidence in terms of the interviewer, like you have been planning for so long and you know what you mean by planning, how to do the effective planning, and so on and so forth. Okay, here we complete our overall project cost management knowledge area. We'll move to the project quality management knowledge area in our next session. After reviewing the project plan, if you created that, there are 3 process groups in project quality management: plan quality management, manage quality, and control quality. But overall, all above this quality management, you basically have a quality management system to fall on to. Quality management system is a group of policies and procedure every organization makes for themselves. This is to adhere to the quality standard they've chosen, right? So if your organization have decided to work closely with CMMI 5, ISO 2000, 9000, ITISM, Six Sigma, total quality management, and there are number of such quality disciplines available or can be chosen from as far as a typical organization goes. So it depends on every organizations and the domains they are worked in and the regions they are worked in to choose a quality management system to basically guide the client to understand what type of quality standards they follow to. And that's why we normally choose a quality standard. So we will discuss about these things in our next session. We'll try to understand how we build a quality management system for a given organizations and how do we adhere to it. So we'll also discuss about the internal quality management group, how the PMO is formed, and so on and so forth. Okay. Anybody have any questions right now for me?
No, I'm good.
No question.
Okay, great. No problem. So let me close our session today. Try to get Microsoft project if you can. I think you'll be able to. It's not that difficult. If not, just put a message in a word, and I'll happy to share the Microsoft project download link as per depending upon your operating system, whatever you're using, and you can do it that. But I believe you could be able to find out through Google. Just type Microsoft Project 2013 download, and the Google will guide you to the Microsoft site. please download from Microsoft site only. Download.microsoft.com if I'm not mistaken, but they keep changing the server. I don't know why. So there might be different server, but there should be a Microsoft name into the URL, into the link, whatever you get. So please don't download from any other site. It might have some phishing element or other things attached to it. So that's it right now. Let's stop here. And if you can, please do your hands-on experience on Microsoft project. It's one of the most mature tools. It will help you out in basically building your goals better, smarter, and try to achieve them at a really good, efficient way. Believe me, Microsoft project is really great, mature software, and that's why it's really costly. I think if you compare Jira with Microsoft, Jira at one, Microsoft at around 50. That's how the number of times the cost is. But still, there are people almost more than 80% they use Microsoft project, even as of today. Okay, so let me stop here, and that's it then. Yes, sure. So have a great weekend. Have a good night. Bye bye. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
weekend.
Bye.